Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this latest DestinE Platform webinar. Just going to wait a few more seconds for people to start coming into Zoom, and then we'll get started right away. Alrighty, let's get started. So today's webinar is Create Your Stories with DEA. There's a service on the DestinE platform that we'll learn a lot about today and the use cases that they've enabled. I'm Diego Domenici from Trust IT Services. I'm just going to give you a few housekeeping and agenda slides before we get started. So, on housekeeping, please be aware that this webinar is being recorded, so your attendance is being recorded as well. The recording is being done so that we can then provide the recording and the slides on the DestinE Platform Learning Hub, so that you can go check them out after the webinar, or if you and others who may miss part of the webinar can then find them there, available for everyone. In the meanwhile, you can feel free to use the chat to introduce yourselves, where you're from, what you're working on, and you can ask questions during the presentation that we're then going to get to later, as we have a Q&A session near the end of the webinar. And in addition to the Q&A session, near the end of the webinar, we'd like to share a feedback form for the webinar and for the service with you. We really count on your feedback a lot to improve the services and to gather information on what people find useful or not so useful about the different services. So we'd very much like to see your opinions on that. That said, the agenda for today's webinar is quite packed, so let's get to it right away. After this introduction, I'm going to pass the floor to Barbara Scarda to give a brief overview on the DestinE platform itself, which enables all of these services. And then we're going to give the floor to the main feature of the day, which is Alia Space, who, of course, provide the DEA service. They will also be showcasing some examples from the community. One is from Planetic and one is from EUMETSAT. So we'll be very interested to see what exactly can be done with the DEA service. After which we will have the Q&A session where we can answer all the questions that you've posted in the chat in the meantime and near the end, and then a short wrap up where again we will share this feedback form with you. So thank you very much for your attendance and for your patience. And without any further ado, I would like to pass the floor to Barbara Scarda from Circo. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you see my screen.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. First of all, thanks to Diego for the introduction, and many thanks to all of you for joining this DestinE Platform webinar. My name is Barbara Scarda, and I work for Circo. We are under a contract with ESA to implement and operate the platform together with an industrial consortium. So before handing over to the colleagues from Pat and Alia and the users who have been invited to talk about their experience, I'll just take a few minutes to introduce the DestinE platform. So the platform is one of the three components of the Destination Earth initiative of the European Commission, which is set to develop a digital replica of the Earth. The platform, which is implemented by the European Space Agency, is in fact the entry point to DestinE, and it's designed to provide access to an ecosystem of services that tackle global challenges using advanced technologies. Now, let's go quickly through the user journey on the platform, which depends on your user type. So the first step is for users to join the DestinE platform. And by joining, you can find general information. You can register following a standard process to access a number of selected services. You can find help in the support section and contact us directly. And from support, you can follow the links to the Learning Hub and the public roadmap. A bit more in detail, you click on services from the web portal and you can browse through the catalog of all the available applications and tools. You can filter them by category and find relevant documentation on each service page. On the Learning Hub, you can find a series of educational material that includes, for example, under training, the services video tutorials. And in particular, you will find 5 video tutorials for DEA, including step-by-step guides and a use case tutorial. So I invite you to have a look. And also the recording of this webinar, as Diego was saying, will be published in the relevant webinars section. And on the Learning Hub, you will also find the demonstrators, some interactive tools that also include climate games and other resources. I had mentioned the public roadmap, and this is where you can find a list of recently released features, upcoming functionalities, and most importantly, ideas for improvement suggested by the user community. And this is part of our effort to stay transparent and make sure the platform evolves based on real user input. Now, once you've joined as an expert user, you're ready to engage with the platform's advanced services. Under the DestinE data portfolio in the About section of the web portal, you can learn all about DestinE digital twins and browse the list of services on the platform that provide access to DestinE data. And in order to use this service, the services that enable you to download DestinE digital twin data, you need to apply for upgraded access. So after signing in, just go to your profile in Access Policy Upgrade and complete the form. Here on the slide, you have the list of eligible categories. Another category of users on the DestinE platform are the contributors, therefore external service providers who wish to onboard their services on the platform for extended visibility, to join the community, and they also have the possibility to benefit from our cloud infrastructure. There is a dedicated section on the web portal where to find all relevant information and the process in place for the onboarding. And now concluding, we invite you to be part of the DestinE Platform community based on your experience, and follow us on the web portal and on our LinkedIn page for the latest news and updates. And for the future, we will keep adding new services, new data sets with more and more innovative features and capabilities with the aim to keep evolving the whole ecosystem. So that wraps it up. If you have any questions, feel free to ask now in the chat or get in touch later by the contact us form. And now I'll hand it over to Christina from Alia Space Systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm going to share my screen. Hope you can see my screen and the presentation. Just a few slides to open this session by explaining the vision behind the DEA. When we had to conceive a data visualization service for Destination Earth, we started from this consideration that today people can access a huge amount of different data, but what seems a power can become a barrier, because what can I do with this data? How can I use it? So our vision was make data understandable for everyone. And since the beginning, stories appeared as a powerful tool for turning complex data sets into comprehensible and engaging narratives. So supposing I am, for instance, a geologist, an expert in data, in technical data, and I want to show the outcome of my work to public authorities or to the community. Or maybe I am a journalist, I'm expert in communication, but less comfortable with technical data, scientific data that I want to use in my articles, for instance. Or I am a green energy architect, and I have to talk with policymakers to explain the importance of a sustainable urban planning. Or I am an educator, and I have to explain to my students the consequences of climate change, extreme events, somehow. And maybe I'd like a service where I can explore and visualize different data, climate data, for instance, weather data, statistical data, Earth observation data. And I want to create interactive content with this data, adding also my own data. And I want to share this content with the community. But since I'm not an expert, not expert in everything, maybe I want to avoid writing code for doing this. So our solution is there, a no-code content creation platform that allows users to create interactive stories by combining different data, thanks to a family of graphical tools like a story editor, a browser gallery of stories, a story viewer accessible from a home page. How it works? We have a service that is equipped with datasets and features available to all users. So among these datasets, we have spatiotemporal layers from DestinE, from Copernicus, from EUMETSAT. We have climate trends. The users can generate on-demand plots, and all this data can be arranged in flexible layouts and can be enriched with animations and interactive features. Then the users can access this service and integrate this data with their own assets, with their own data of different types, georeferenced or not, static or time dynamic. They can add the text, images, they can add multimedia content, and they can create interactive stories that can be shared on the web. So now it's time to see how DEA works, how this can be achieved with DEA. So I leave the floor to my colleague Nicola Matteo Tobbia for a live demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Cristina, for the introduction. I am Nicola Matteo Tobbia. I will share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen? Yeah. So today I'm going to show you how to create a story about a recent meteorological event using our story editor here. This is your workspace to create stories. We have some key areas. The first section contains general information about the story. The second section contains info about the slides. The center part is focused on the map, and we also have a toolbar which allows you to interact with the map and also to navigate through the service. So let's start building our stories. First of all, you need to add a title here, which is a mandatory field to save the story. You can also add a description and add a cover image. A cover image is the front image of your story, which makes it more eye-catching when it is viewed. You can set your cover from your computer, from an external URL, or from your already uploaded asset. For example, here I want to use this cover. You can also set a location for your story. For example, I want to focus the story over Bordeaux. I can click here and save the location. So in just a few clicks, you have set up your story and you can start create your slide. First of all, I save the story and I will focus now on my first slide. Each slide is like a page of your story. You can combine text and data with the map. First of all, I want to add a title for my story, for my slide, sorry, and also add some text. Text which could be customizable, which with this text editor here, you can, for example, change the color of your text, change the size, change the format. You can also add external links, images, or videos, and so on. But now I want to play with some data. First of all, I will look to datasets which are pulled directly from a European source like Copernicus, EUMETSAT, or ACNWF. For this story, I will search for some external WMS layers by EUMETSAT platform. For example, here I want to use this dataset about thunderstorms, but also an image from NTG satellite. You can customize this dataset. For example, I want to lower the opacity here and also improve here. So you can see both the dataset at the same time over the map. This dataset also have a large time range from 2023 until today. So if you want to focus on this specific event, you can change the date range here. I will set on February 2026. So I can focus on this specific event. Also, these dataset will change over the time. For example, I can play here with the timeline to see how the storm change over the time. And to enable this automation in the slide, I can turn on the autoplay button here and set, for example, a value for the speed. And if you want to save this view of the Europe, for example, here, I can capture this current view and it will be saved for this current slide. Next, I'll add another slide with the button here, and I want to have a look to user asset here. User assets are objects which could be uploaded by the user through this add button. Actually, the service supports different formats, both raster and vector data. You can add an asset from your local machine, you can remove it, search by name or by file type. And each user has his own personal storage on the service. For this demo, I have downloaded two Sentinel-2 imagery from Copernicus browser. So I will add two TIFF files in the map. One is an image after the event, and this one is before the event. As you can see, they are on the same zone area here. So if you want to have a look at them side by side, you can enable the compare tool here. So we can have a look on the left to the image from before the event, and on the right after the event. So we can visualize it, the flooded zone here around the river. And if you want to add some text to the map, you can also use this feature here, pins. For example, I want to add label for the river here. So I'm adding some text to the map. These data, they will not change over the time, so I can also choose to hide the timeline to have a full immersive view over the map. And I want also to add some text here. For example, I will add a title for the slide, but also I want to change the layout of my panels. For example, I want to here select the dual panel, and I will have a left panel and a right panel. For the left panel, I want to add a simple text. And for the right panel, I want to add some text, but also use one of my assets to enhance the text here. For example, I can choose from one of my assets an image. And with a simple drag and drop, I can embed the image here in the text. And finally, I will capture this view to save for this current slide. For the third slide, I want to use a new feature in there, which are natural hazard. They are data provided by the Copernicus Emergency Service, and they are updated daily with an external API. Thanks to this feature, you can add real-world events like floods, earthquakes, or wildfires to your story. For this demo, I will choose a flood event in France here, and I want to focus on these two cities, Cognac. Okay, and also Bordeaux. So, these are interactive layers, and you can play with them, click over them, and to get, for example, a full access to a statistical report about this flood event. They are also, you can play with the timeline to see how they change over the time. For example, here in Cognac, we can see some information about flooded zones, about, for example, the depth of the flood, and also see how can he change over the time. So we can, at this point, capture this view and also enable the automation for the animation. For this slide, I want also to enhance the text with some external resource, for example, with an external video from a news report, French report footage here. So I can use an external URL, an external video to embed in the text, and I will have full control of the video. I can play it, I can move around, I have full control. I will save the story, and now I will create my last slide. For the last slide, I want to have a look at a long-term climate trends. So I will add some text to add some context for the slide. And I want to open this panel, Climate Trends, and select the France here. I will generate a stripe plot to visualize the trend of the temperature over the last century. And I can use this plot directly in my text here. For this slide, I don't need the map, so I can choose to upload an image or video as a background of my slide. In this case, I will use an already uploaded asset here, which is a video about the temperature over in Mediterranean Sea. And I can save the story here. So our story is ready. You can choose to share your story. In fact, enabling with this toggle, you can generate a direct link so other registered user can view the story. To view the final result of the story, you can switch to the story viewer, which is like an interactive presentation of your story. You can navigate through the slide. The map and the data still remain fully interactive here, and so on. So that's it for my editor demo. Now I will leave the floor to my colleague Monica Rossetti, who will introduce the next session. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Niccolò. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now it's time to look at some practical examples of a successful story developed with DEA. In this part of the webinar, we will hear directly from members of the DEA community who have already created interactive stories using the service. The first story will be presented by Matteo Villa from Planetech Italia, and this story was developed within the context of the Copernicus for Region program, which promotes the use of Copernicus data by local and regional administrations across Europe. In this context, the DEA was selected as a tool to transform traditional paper-based stories into interactive experiences, enhancing the way that Copernicus data can support more sustainable urban planning and informed decision-making, also at local scale. Our second examples will be presented by Ben Loveday from EUMASAT, and his story is completely a different scenario. With him, we will show how Earth observation data can be used to trace the journey of the iceberg A23A, one of the largest icebergs ever recorded, and we will see its evolution over time. These two examples show how flexible they can be, supporting both local planning decisions and the exploration of environmental phenomena also on global scale. Matteo, the floor is yours.
Okay, how you hear me? Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you. And now I share my screen and I start to present the project and myself too. Just one moment. Okay. Okay. Now I think you can see my screen. Just a moment, maybe. Give me some feedback. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
It's loading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we see it.
Okay. Okay. So my presentation starts with this word map about their platform, and here there is our project about enchanting urban sustainability of Palermo. So if I click here, open this part of slide, so we can start and present the project. So my name is Matteo. I work in Planetech, and Planetech is a company specialized of Earth observation and geospatial solution in general. At Planetech, we transform satellite data into operational service for public administration and climate resilience strategies. I personally contribute to develop this project, working on vegetation indicator and geospatial processing workflow. And I make a story for the DEA platform. So that's why today I present this project that present to Municipality of Palermo use Copernicus Sentinel-2 data to improve the sustainable management of his urban green space. And the collaboration is between Planetech and CISP for manage these urban green spaces. So the first slide, I use the abstract form of DEA that I said through the collaboration with Planetech in Italia and CISP of Municipality of Palermo, we developed the urban green spaces monitoring tool. So this is a clear example of the space value chain from satellite to decision makers to the citizens. Here, there is a George Bucky stated that he said the tool reduce field inspection cost, improve planning, and allow verification of maintenance effectiveness. So this summarizes the impact: less cost, better planning, and data-driven decision in general. In the third slide, I present the region of application. In this case, is in the southern part of Italy, in Palermo city. And with the platform, we can upload, and you can see the green spaces. There are the green areas of Palermo that we have to monitorize, and that allow the technician to explore green space directly with their urban context. And the insurance of the satellite analysis is always connected to the real territory. So here in DEA, you can post the photo from Credit Andrea Borruso. This is Palermo, one of Palermo's green areas. So I can move to slide 4, is the part of the core of our challenge. So Palermo face increasing environmental pressure, like rising temperatures, heat waves, drought, urban expansion. Without timely vegetation data, maintenance was mostly reactive. CSP defined 3 goals: improved green space health, optimize irrigation, and better manage vegetation stress. To address this, we process monthly Sentinel-2 data and compute 3 vegetation main index, like a so common index: NDVI, SABI, and LI. So I don't want to go deeply in the technician part, but in general, there are the most common and useful index from the remote sensing processing from the satellite data that we can use for manage better and planning the intervention of in the environmental part. So we use multiple indices to provide more robust assessment of vegetation vitality and density. This is the goal. I move to slide 5, and we can see we can upload this kind of raster in the DEA platform, and the upload of the raster is so quickly. We can compress the raster, and we can see very clear in this case. And I present now the use case 1 of our solution, the vegetation stress index. From this index that previous I present, and the Y sub-LI, we develop vegetation stress index. It range from 0 to 1 and measure the persistent stress over the previous 12 months. The indicator is a trend-based. It was specifically designed to mid and long-term planning for the city. Basically, it helped to detect gradual degradation, or maybe anticipate problems and support preventive intervention. So in short, it's a strategic planning for the territorial management. I describe here some example of the stress index. So in this part of the slide, you can read like a more technical part and the statistic result of our index. In the right part, we can see the legend of the value of the vegetation stress index. And here there is a graph that confirms there is a trend, because here we analyze with this index from 2022 to 2025, And we can see this green index. This is a light index, for example, in this case. But in general, the goal and we have to focus this index not like a event, event detection, but like a trend. This is so useful for the planning in the long term. I move to slide 6 because we have use case 2, so a different index, waiting for OK. So there permits the slider tool, and we can see the different date of the same area with the vegetation anomaly index raster. So in this case, this vegetation anomaly index is unlike stress index. This one compares current condition with historical average to detect abnormal deviation. If stress index, the previous one, support long-term planning, the anomaly index supports short-term event-based management in general. In this case, it's useful for for example, wildfire, construction activity, sudden vegetation loss. I want to put here in the slide the wildfire event that happened in the 2023 in the city of Palermo, and we can see the previous situation on the left. So in this case, we have the value like a 0 to 0.25, but in general, there's no anomaly. Now, we can see the right part after the wildfire event. So we can see most of the green space of Palermo are affected of this unfortunate event. So in this case, we can look this, but in the future, maybe in the platform 2, we can quantify the hectare, for example, that we lost in this case of green areas of Palermo. Like a first index in this part of the slide, I give you some example for the other cases of event situation, like construction that I already said, and we can see here we can detection of the, for example, urban expansion of the Palermo Sea. And here I put for return in the wildfire event, I put the ESA database image, in this case in the false color image, and that confirm that our vegetation anomaly index detect this event of wildfire in Palermo in 2023. Okay. So for sure, in the platform you can manage the visualization. You can zoom in and zoom out for better analyze the situation, and you can see the small part. Okay, perfect. So I move in the 7th slide. Just one moment. Okay. So we analyze after this project. We want to make analysis of the real benefit of the citizens. The benefit was concrete. For the municipality side, we reduce inspection cost, faster decision making, and more efficient resource allocation. For the citizens, they have healthier green spaces, improve air quality in general, and reduce urban heat island effect. So in general, better quality of life. And for make this, in there, we make a stories. But for the municipality of Palermo, we make a web platform for different goal that the DEA platform is made. And we use Hexagon Map Enterprise product. I go to slide 8, and I want to show you that the platform can manage other side of data from the web. We can see in the 9 slide and in this 8 slide. So this slide is useful because Palermo now monitoring its gray space monthly for space. With future Sentinel missions, data will become even more frequently and detailed. So the approach is scalable and can serve a model for the European cities. In this case, we can see just one moment, it's loading data. But in general, in this slide, we want to show the approach with different kind of data. For example, tree cover density that we can build like a graph, like Instagram graph in the map. Now I hope it's loading. Maybe it's a little bit slow. Okay. Sorry, maybe you can see later. But in general, the goal of this slide that we can combine different kind of data. Until now, we see the indexes, the raster, the simple raster on the map. But in this case, we can cover with tree cover density. Okay, now we can see. It's so nice because the powerful of this visualization maybe is a little bit confused in the first approach, but basically we can combine different data so you can see in the one image, okay, you can see a lot of information because you can analyze the height of the tree density cover, the space cover of the tree density, and the land use too from Sentinel-2. So this is a good example for make an interaction of different kind of data. Now I move to slide 9. Just a moment. Yeah, it's a little bit slow because there are a lot of raster to upload, to loading in this data. Oh, wait. Yeah, maybe it's my connection. Okay. Oops. I want to return in 9. Okay. Okay, in this slide, there want to make this slide in for make the European context. European is warming faster than the global average. So by integrating Sentinel data with the climate dataset, such as, for example, ERA5 dataset, it's so common for the climate environment, we can monitoring not only the vegetation health, but also the climatic drivers behind it. So we can this is support for more resilient urban planning too. And we can see leaf area index is another index, and the graph of HERA5 for the temperature for in Palermo, only for the month of June, from 1940 to 2025. And you can see increase the temperature in general. This is only an example. I move to the 10th slide. Okay, this is another application for the climate environment, but in this case, we can make a projection. So using destination Earth digital twins, we can explore climate projection up to 2040. So the warming trends indicates the tools like this will become increasingly essential for the urban resilience. And it's so nice because we can see this graph that reporting the variation of the temperature during the year, and with the dynamic graph, you can start to understand the trend for the future, this graph going to 2038 in this case. Okay. Okay. Just one moment. I go to.
Yeah, Matteo, I think we're running out of time.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So it's finished, it's finished. So thank you so much from the Planetech for the collaboration from Copernicus Project for Regions and for CSP2 and the platform. Thank you so much, it's finished.
Thank you very much, Matteo. Sorry
Thank
for
you
the
too.
introduction. Was really, really interesting and hopefully also useful for the municipality. Now it's time for Ben. Ben, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica, and good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. Just give me a quick thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Fantastic. And I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to give a slightly different perspective. I'm going to concentrate on a case that I pulled together early last year, or kind of like by Q2 last year, on the A23 iceberg evolution from multiple satellite perspectives in a story that I developed on the DEA platform called A Frozen Wanderer. And just to give you a little bit of background as to why, let me just, sorry, hopefully that's all working in this mode. Can you see my slides? It's working okay? Fantastic. Okay, so who am I? First and foremost, my name is Ben Loveday. I am the contract manager for the EUMETSAT Copernicus Marine Training Service. We are a team of 7. The company I work for is called Innoflare, and we deliver this service to EUMETSAT, where I'm responsible for the development and delivery of all training activities and development of training materials to support EUMETSAT's Copernicus marine data. So that's everything from Sentinel-3 and Sentinel-6. So if you have any questions about any marine product from EUMETSAT in our Copernicus portfolio, you can always contact me at training@eumetsat.int, that little email address in the bottom right-hand corner. So part of my job is to develop cross-platform code examples to support data use, but periodically I also develop case studies to show the use of data in pursuit of specific applications, which is what brought me into kind of the orbit of the DEA system. So just to give you a quick example, usually maybe 4 to 6 times a year, I develop case studies like this that I publish on the EUMETSAT website. But they're usually not so media rich. I can add imagery, I can add text descriptions, I can add reference material from other places, but I don't have so much option to do interactivity here. And so if I go to the last part of my first slide, you can see that I'm always on the lookout for innovative tools to support data-driven narratives. And the reason why I'm kind of exploring this in this kind of a context is I'm engaged in a lot of activities under the UN Ocean Decade. I focus these activities under the challenges that the UN Ocean Decade has put forward, the 10 challenges that outline the issues that the ocean faces. And challenges 9 and 10 of the UN Ocean Decade are geared around seeking ways to provide skills, knowledge, and technology and participation in that discussion for all. So to make data a little bit more egalitarian in terms of how we present it, and to reduce the complexity when telling stories about that data, and also to restore society's relationship with the ocean, so to add more appealing context as to why we care about some of the ocean-related stories that our data can support. And yeah, so these data-driven stories support both of those challenges. But in general, we rely on very complicated data streams from many different sources to support these kind of data-driven narratives. And they can often come out as feeling quite dry and only palatable to audiences who we generally know quite well already. So platforms like the DestinE DEA allow us as data-driven storytellers to bring all this data together and to conduct kind of small analyses and present these stories in more compelling ways, which gives us a broader audience and more appeal to different sections of the user community. And so this was done under a UN Ocean Decade banner as part of a broader set of activities that I'm engaged in. And if you are interested, this is all kind of summarized in a poster I delivered at Living Planet last year. And that QR code should take you to a Google Drive link where you can find it. So you should be able to find a little bit more information on broader kind of marine activities to support storytelling. And from here, I'm just going to jump straight into the case study that I developed. So I'm going to begin as Matteo did with the browser, with the storytelling browser. And my story is from the middle of last year, so there's a large number of stories on the browser now. And mine's dropped off the back of that banner, so I'm just going to go to the browse all stories. And I've no idea how I get rid of that menu. There we go. And I'm just going to scroll down the left-hand side until I hit marine, because I am still the only marine story there, which means I need to develop more marine stories to go on this platform. But so there you go. And I'm going to click on Frozen Wanderer, my story that I developed last year. Now, I would say that I developed this, I think, quite early on in the DEA platform. So I was taking advantage of some of the capabilities that were there at the time, which have since been expanded upon that Niccolo gave as an overview. But I was still able, with relative ease, to construct my narrative. So, welcome to my story, tracking the history of iceberg A23A via Earth observation products. So the first thing I did is I put together a short introduction. Why do we care about A23A? And actually, from a practical perspective, we kind of don't so much. From a scientific perspective, we really do. From an interest perspective, we really do. It was the biggest iceberg at the time in late 2024, early 2025. It was absolutely massive. It carved off the Filcher Run ice shelf or ice sheet, and was starting, despite I did that in 1986, and then spent about 35 years actually anchored on the sea floor until it was kind of pushed out the edge of all the sea ice, unanchored itself from the continental shelf, and was able to start to drift. And that's where we pick up the story in 2023. So this is already an iceberg with 40 years of history behind it that's been monitored for that time, but it wasn't moving much. So we kind of pick up the story a little bit more in the kind of the dynamic era when it's floating around in the ocean. So here's my second slide, and for this I pulled in some imagery we've got from Sentinel-3 Alchi. This is optical imagery that I did a daily composite of in this main panel here, and I can zoom out. This is actually an example of a daily composite. So we've actually got full coverage over the globe, but I'm only interested in this little pin down here where I focus the story, and this is A23A. But we don't necessarily have to start quite there. We actually have a lot of information in the Copernicus catalog and through the EUMETSAT Ocean and Sea Ice Satellite Application Facility, or OCSAF, which gives us information on sea ice drift. So I can embed in some of these videos that I made that actually show the drift patterns within the packed sea ice to get an idea of how the iceberg itself maybe evolved and moved when it was not yet freely off the shelf and able to drift open in the open ocean, so to speak, in the Southern Ocean and in the Weddell Sea. And I put some links down here to the fundamental data records, basically, and the products that actually support the generation of this animation. And this YouTube video I just embedded using HTML. And for the majority of this, I actually used my own assets to I uploaded them and then displayed my own assets on the story to support my narrative. So we've got the iceberg. It's at the edge of the pack ice. Where does it go from there? So here we can watch A23A going on its big wander for the latter half of 2023 into 2024. And we can see it spinning, turning, and then it gets kicked out of the Weddell Sea into the open ocean of the Southern Ocean, hits some of the stronger currents that persist there. And then we lose the optical data because this is information from a passive optical sensor in Sentinel-3 Alchi, which means if we don't have available light from the sun, as in it's nighttime or it's wintertime in the Southern Hemisphere, we can't actually see the iceberg at all with this sensor. Then we come back again in 2024 when we're in Southern Hemisphere summer again, and we can see the iceberg rotating and moving on its merry way until it hits South Georgia. And it moves, so it's going to be a bit to the north, a bit to the east, and then it's going to hit, and then it's going to stick. And embedded in the little side panel here, I put in the information, because you can embed these external data platform viewers in the DEA platform. I embedded the Copernicus Marine Service MyOcean Pro viewer with the velocity data. I think it's the sea surface. It probably isn't. It's probably the full depth velocity field. No, apologies. It is the surface velocity field, seawater velocity from the Copernicus Marine Service, which shows you kind of the prevailing currents which led to this iceberg being moved in this direction, ignoring for the time being the impact of the wind on the surface part on the 40-meter freeboard. So as I just mentioned, we see this iceberg from a multitude of different sensors. I'm rather a data magpie, if you will. I like to get my pictures and my information from multiple different sources. And I've already shown you that when it comes to the optical data, it's not always the most comprehensive picture, because in wintertime or when it's particularly dark, then we are unable to identify the iceberg. Because there's no signal from the instrument. But we can also see these icebergs in thermal imagery as well. So I used a slider and maybe in a slightly different way. This is not a before and after. But on the right-hand side here, as I'm showing in this picture, we see the thermal picture from Sentinel-3 SLSTR. That's the sea and land surface temperature radiometer. And there's a full description of the instrumentation in the side panel. And on the right-hand side, we can compare that with the optical. So we can see, okay, we can see it from the optical imagery, but we're going to lose this when it gets dark. We can also see this in the thermal imagery, which we can acquire daytime and nighttime all throughout the year. And if I zoom in a little bit on here, you can see that where this iceberg is anchored towards the end of this initial drift, it's anchored right on the edge of these contours that surround South Georgia. So I just put in a KML file with the bathymetry contours from the Gebco bathymetry, and you can see here these contours start to show between 2,000 meters and 300 meters, and the iceberg basically is now anchored on the continental shelf or on the island shelf around South Georgia. Whilst we get a great view of the iceberg from Sentinel-3 Ulchi, it gives us a coverage of the ocean on almost a daily basis optically. It's only at 300-meter resolution, which means whilst we can look at the colossal iceberg, we can't necessarily look at the fragmentation that occurs around the iceberg. And we were very, very lucky to also get a scene from Sentinel-2 for this area. So I added that to the story as well. Sentinel-2 does not by default acquire in the open ocean, so we were very lucky to get this because it was so near to South Georgia. So we can actually see here, if I move the slider all the way over to this side, you can see we don't really see much at all. A little bit of influence of the island in this light area up here. Ooh, and let me move a little bit down. And the iceberg is actually hidden here, or will be hidden here under the cloud. And if we move all the way over to the other side, we can see there is the edge of the iceberg. And this is the impact of the wind and the waves and the grinding against the sea floor that's causing it to fragment, break up, and kick out all of this kind of brash ice. So it's taking a bit of a beating as it sits on the kind of the shelf around South Georgia, causing it to continually erode mechanically. And eventually, when it gets a bit warmer, it will start to erode thermally as well. So we can see a little bit of a view of what's actually happening, make some broad assumptions about the future of the iceberg, this is retrospectively, as it kind of sits on this shelf area. And the last slide that I added in here as well was to give some climatic context to what is happening with the sea ice in the southern hemisphere. So this is data that I took from our OCSAF, our Ocean Sea Ice Satellite Application Facility, who do regular operational monitoring of sea ice concentration and extent in the northern and southern hemisphere. And so we can see that this black line, I think, represented 2025 at the time, and it's towards the bottom of the pattern we've seen since the 1980s, though not the lowest year that we've seen, though it did dip very, very low in March. So this gives some climatic context to what is happening on the sea ice that's attached to the Antarctic continent. This does not include the sea ice that is drifting in the open ocean. And then finally, I just summarized that with a bit more contextual information where you can go for more data, relevance to the UN Ocean Decade, and some attribution, and some links out to some other stories, such as that from the British Antarctic Survey, other stories on radar perspectives, radar being another common sensor we use to monitor icebergs, etc. And all of that was added in the final kind of summary panel in the left, alongside this lovely picture that someone took that I can't remember where I got it from, but I did get it properly with attribution and copyright from someone who did like a vicarious pass, I think, on a private yacht of the iceberg, and that's about a 40-meter freeboard. So this thing was absolutely enormous. So one more slide, just talking a little bit about my experiences. I started as a complete beginner with this service. I'm an expert with the data, but I am not an expert with the service. Despite that, it was really very easy for me to construct these data-driven geospatial stories. I was able to bring multiple data sets into scope, mostly through the development of offline assets. For me, I wasn't able to connect quite so comprehensively to the live updatable assets. The story panel gave me loads of information to contextualize my story. I was very grateful for the support I received from Alia Space for both the development of the story and its publication. I was a very early adopter, so more data streams have come online, more capability has been added since I did this last year, and I look forward to developing more marine stories. If anyone is interested, if you want to look at A23 now, you've got last days, maybe weeks to do it. It's nearly gone. So, yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you very
very
much, Ben.
much.
Thank you very much,
too.
Ben, and Monica and everyone else, both from the DEA team and from the user stories. Thank you all also for being here at the webinar. Before you go, just a very short wrap up. As we said originally, we have a feedback form for the webinar and the services. If you're interested, we'd really much appreciate you letting us know what you thought. So please find that link in the chat that Barbara has just sent. Additionally, if you are a master's student, PhD student, or young researcher, as Barbara said previously, please be aware that there is a call for participation. We'd love to interview and hear how you're using the DestinE services and the services on the DestinE platform, like the one that was just showcased. So please have a look at that if that's interesting for you as well. As said originally, everything will be available on the Learning Hub shortly. So again, thank you all for being here. It's been a wonderful webinar. It's been very interesting. And we will see you at the next events for the DestinE platform and the DestinE initiative. Thank you all very much, and goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you very much to
Thank you.
all. Bye. Thank you.